Welcome to White Paper Podcasts, where we discuss an infinite variety of published white papers and scientific studies, making them easy to understand through an informative and entertaining format. Sit back and enjoy our hosts, Heather and Andre, as they discuss a very popular book called Dopamine Detox: How to Remove Distractions and Get Your Brain to Do Hard Things. This podcast lasts approximately 12 minutes.
All right, so ever feel like you're just, kind of paddling for your brain?
Mm-hmm.
Like you sit down, you got your to-do list, you're ready to crush it, maybe dive into a passion project.
Yeah.
And then bam,
Right.
3 hours later, you're watching cat videos on YouTube.
The YouTube vortex.
Yep.
Happens to the best of us.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
So you are not alone if you are feeling that. Today we are diving deep into dopamine detox. Gotta detox our brains a little bit.
Yeah. Little brain detox.
And unlock that elusive superpower,
Oh, I like that.
focus.
Yeah. Focus. That's the key word, right? And the key here, really, what this book digs into is that it's not just a matter of willpower.
Right.
There's some actual science behind why we get so easily sidetracked.
Mm.
And the culprit, in a lot of cases, dopamine, the molecule of more.
Okay. Molecule of more. That sounds familiar.
It is. It's that, feeling of, I gotta have it. When you're scrolling through social media, you're craving that sugary snack or even just waiting for a notification to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the pleasure itself. It's that anticipation, the chase.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
Because just now, I caught myself refreshing my inbox 5 times before we started recording.
It's so easy to get sucked in.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. So this whole dopamine thing, that's like a survival mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Like back in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Think about, our ancestors. Dopamine was pushing them to seek food, shelter, connection, essential stuff for survival.
Right.
The problem is our world today is it's overflowing with things that trigger that same reward pathway.
Mm.
Often for things that, in the grand scheme of things, don't really matter.
It's like our brains just haven't quite caught up to the 21st century, huh?
Yeah. Technology's moving faster than our brains can handle.
Right.
And to make matters more interesting, this book, it lays out 4 sneaky tricks that our minds kind of play on us to keep us hooked on those quick dopamine hits.
Okay. Spill the tea. I'm ready to outsmart my own brain here. Hit me with trick number 1.
Okay. Well, the first one is called downplaying, and this is where our brains tend to minimize the negative consequences of our distractions.
Okay.
Right? We tell ourselves, oh, just one more episode, or it'll only take a minute to check Instagram.
Oh, guilty. Guilty of that one for sure. Especially late at night,
Mhm.
Just one more episode turns into the whole season.
Exactly.
All right. So
Yeah.
what's the next trick?
All right. So next up is emotional reasoning. This is where we let our emotions dictate our choices, even when, deep down we know better.
Okay.
So you might feel stressed or anxious, and we reach for a distraction as a way to cope, even though it ultimately makes us feel worse.
Oh, yeah. Like when you're dreading a work task and suddenly cleaning the bathroom seems like, oh, this will be fun.
Right. Exactly.
2 down, 2 to go.
All right. So the third trick is justification.
Okay.
And this is where we become masters at rationalizing our behavior.
Uh-huh.
We tell ourselves, oh, I deserve a break, or I'll work harder later, to justify giving in to those distractions.
Oh, the classic procrastination tactic.
Exactly. Delay.
Delay is right. Okay. Last one. Let's hear it.
Okay. And then finally, we have self-doubt. And this one is, the inner critic pipes up and tells us we're not capable of focusing.
Yeah.
So we might as well give in to the distractions.
Wow. Our brains are really good at sabotaging us. Gosh. But knowing these tricks, that's got to be half the battle, right?
Absolutely. Awareness is huge. Once you're aware of these patterns, you can start to challenge those thoughts and make more intentional choices.
Okay. So awareness is step 1. But this constant bombardment of distractions, it can't just be about willpower, right?
You're right. It's not. It's deeper than that. This book really digs into how that overstimulation impacts our ability to think long term.
Okay.
And to stay focused on what truly matters.
So you mean besides the obvious, I can't meet a deadline because I'm knee deep in TikToks?
Exactly. It's deeper than that. It's like, we're constantly chasing those quick dopamine hits. And it actually makes it harder for our brains to delay gratification and work towards goals that require sustained effort.
So how do we break free from this cycle? Like, I'm ready to ditch the hamster wheel of instant gratification.
Well, the good news is this book, it's not just, diagnosing the problem. It's about solutions.
Oh, yeah.
And it starts with what the author calls a dopamine detox.
Okay, detox. That sounds kind of intense. Like, am I giving up coffee and social media for like a week?
Not necessarily, no. It's not about deprivation, really. It's about being intentional.
Okay.
Think of it more like hitting the reset button on your brain's reward system.
Okay.
And the best part is it's adaptable, to your needs. You could do a full 48-hour detox, a shorter 24-hour one.
Right.
Or even just like incorporate partial detoxes into your week.
Okay, so how do we actually do this dopamine detox thing? Like, where do we start?
Well, the first step is all about identifying, your biggest distractions.
Okay.
Remember those cans and cans lists we talked about?
Right. The activities we allow ourselves to engage in.
Exactly.
Versus the ones that suck us into the dopamine vortex.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you can get really strategic, with your productivity.
Okay.
So for your cans list, think about activities that promote focus and clarity. Maybe it's, working in a distraction-free environment, using a timer to break down tasks.
Yeah. Or even, rewarding yourself with a brain break after you achieve a specific goal.
So like hacking my dopamine system for good.
There you go.
Instead of letting it control me.
Exactly.
I love it. What about those like sneaky distractions, the ones that the ones that make it onto the can'ts list?
Yeah.
How do I actually stop myself from giving in?
Well, that's where step 2 comes in. Adding friction.
Adding friction. Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So think of it this way. You want to make those undesirable behaviors, those can'ts, you want to make those just a little bit harder to do.
Right.
And then at the same time, make those positive ones easier. So let's say, your phone is your biggest distraction.
Mm-hmm.
What's something you could do to add friction to that?
Well, I could put it in another room while I'm working, or at least turn off notifications.
Exactly. Even small changes like that can make a big difference.
Okay.
Or if, social media is your kind of your kryptonite, maybe you log out of your accounts, on your computer so you're not tempted to just mindlessly scroll during work.
It's like creating speed bumps for your bad habit.
Exactly.
So instead of just mindlessly scrolling, you're forced to stop and think, wait, do I really want to do this right now?
Precisely. Now, the third step is all about timing.
Timing. As in when's the best time to do a dopamine detox?
Not exactly. It's about, starting your day with intention. The first few hours, they're crucial. If you begin your day by checking emails or scrolling through social media, you're priming your brain for distraction.
So you're telling me my morning scroll on social media is basically training my brain to just crave distractions all day long.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you're basically priming it for that scattered kind of focus. But here's the flip side. You start your day with what the author calls a closed system activity, and it can be a game changer.
Closed system. Remind me what that is again.
Yeah, so closed system. Think of activities that allow for that focused attention without constantly pulling you towards new stimuli.
Right.
So that might be tackling a challenging work task.
Right.
Getting lost in a good book, and I mean the paper kind, not an e-reader.
Okay.
Or even just enjoying a quiet cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Without your phone glued to your hand.
Okay. So instead of starting my day in that reactive mode, I'm kind of setting the tone for focus and intention.
Exactly.
I can get behind that. I like it.
Yeah. And that's all those cans from your list.
Right.
Those are your kind of your secret weapon to a more productive day. I
like it. Okay. So this whole dopamine detox thing, it's not about becoming a monk, going to a silent retreat.
No.
It's about, it's about finding that sustainable balance.
Exactly.
Because let's be real, we're not ditching technology.
Right.
We're not ditching fun anytime soon.
No, not at all. It's about, it's about training our brains to be more discerning,
Okay.
And speaking of training, this book also talks about cultivating what it calls here and now neurotransmitters.
Here and now neurotransmitters. Okay,
Take-
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds a little woo-woo even for me. So break it down. What are we talking about here?
All right, so remember how we were talking about dopamine being all about like the anticipation, the chase?
Yeah.
Well, these here and now neurotransmitters, these are like your endorphins, your oxytocin, your serotonin.
Right.
These are about being present and engaged in the current moment.
Okay.
So instead of chasing that next dopamine hit, it's about kind of finding ways to appreciate what's right in front of you.
So instead of chasing the dopamine, hit, I'm finding ways to just like kind of enjoy what's right there in front of me.
Exactly. Be more present. And the book suggests things like meditation,
Right.
mindful walking, spending time in nature, or even, and this one might sound counterintuitive,
Okay.
allowing yourself to experience boredom.
Wait, boredom. Isn't the goal here to be more productive, not like stare at the wall?
I know, but think about it. When we resist that urge to constantly fill every quiet moment with stimulation,
Okay.
we give our brains a chance to like reset.
Okay.
And in that stillness, that's where we often find those new ideas, those insights, that deeper sense of peace, which ultimately makes us more productive in the long run.
It's like we're so busy, like chasing the next, exciting thing that we've forgotten how to just like be. This has been awesome. I've learned a lot. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into the world of dopamine detox, what's like the one takeaway you really want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think the biggest thing is just remembering that it's not about eliminating dopamine entirely.
Right.
We need that. It's about understanding how it works,
Right.
and finding that balance that allows you to live a more focused, more fulfilling life.
And that looks different for everyone, right?
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you
Exactly.
and making those small but sustainable changes
Yes.
that really add up over time.
That's the key.
Yeah. So if you're feeling, a little overwhelmed by distractions,
Join the club. It happens to all of us.
right. Remember, you have the power to reclaim your focus.
You got this.
You got this. Start small, be kind to yourself,
Absolutely.
and enjoy the journey.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into dopamine detox.
Yeah.
We'll catch you next time.